Zhang Yi stood by the window of the 13th floor, observing the chaotic scene below where over 1,000 residents fled in panic. He was struck by the sheer lethality of the grenade he had just deployed, a weapon he had previously underestimated due to fictional portrayals of invincible heroes. In reality, the explosion had killed nearly 20 people directly and indirectly, shattering the coalition's numerical advantage. Realizing that further attacks would only scatter the remaining survivors without adding significant value, Zhang Yi decided to conserve his remaining 20 boxes of grenades. He sat down in a chair, waiting patiently for the 5 coalition leaders to arrive, knowing that the physical exertion of climbing 9 flights of stairs in freezing weather would serve as a tactical disadvantage for them. Minutes later, the group arrived, panting heavily and visibly exhausted. Only Huang Tianfang, a construction worker, and Zhang Yunian, a former boxing gym owner, managed to keep up with some dignity. The others were winded, their previous arrogance extinguished by the fear of Zhang Yi's firepower. Zhang Yi noted their condition with satisfaction, recognizing that his plan to wear them down physically before negotiation had succeeded. He greeted them calmly, noting the small number of attendees, which disappointed him slightly as he had hoped to capture all building managers at once. However, he proceeded with the negotiation, aware that his gun gave him the ultimate leverage in this standoff. Li Jian, the most eloquent of the group, took the lead in speaking. He adopted a polite and earnest tone, appealing to Zhang Yi's humanity by describing the dire situation of starvation and cannibalism in the community. He argued that their actions were not personal but driven by the desperate need for survival. Zhang Yi remained unmoved, dismissing the emotional appeal as useless. He cut through the rhetoric, demanding to hear their specific conditions directly. The 5 men, suppressed by Zhang Yi's presence and the memory of the grenade, exchanged glances before Li Jian proposed their terms. They requested essential living supplies, specifically food and warmth, and offered to assist Zhang Yi in gathering more resources in return. Zhang Yi immediately saw through the subtext of Li Jian's proposal. He understood that the request for assistance meant they wanted access to his snowmobiles and resources without limit. His expression darkened, and he slammed his pistol onto the table with a loud bang, causing the 5 men to pale and instinctively try to retreat. Uncle Yu and his men blocked the doorway, preventing any escape. Zhang Yi mocked their fear, claiming he had only taken out the gun to air it, and forced them to sit back down. He firmly rejected their conditions, stating that no one could sustain the entire neighborhood of 30 buildings and over 1,000 people. He pointed out the hypocrisy of their request, noting that none of them had shown such selflessness when facing starvation themselves. With the negotiation turning hostile, Zhang Yi laid out his own terms. He agreed to provide food, but strictly limited to 10 people per building, totaling over 300 portions daily. This offer created immediate division among the leaders. Chen Lingyu protested, arguing that 10 portions were insufficient for her building of 76 people. Huang Tianfang, however, saw an opportunity, as his gang had been reduced to 8 members, making the supply sufficient for his core group. Wan Chang also considered the offer, realizing he could call his 16 subordinates to fit the limit. Li Jian, whose leadership relied on equal distribution, was deeply troubled, fearing that such scarcity would cause his harmonious community to collapse into infighting. Seeing the rift forming, Li Jian asked to hear the remaining conditions before deciding. Zhang Yi, with his hand resting near his gun, introduced the concept of sustainable development. He argued that scavenging was not a long-term solution and that they needed to become self-sufficient. To illustrate his point, he magically produced a packet of corn seeds from his spatial storage and tossed it onto the table. He proposed that they start farming, drawing a parallel to their ancestors who obtained food through their own labor. This revelation of agricultural potential shifted the dynamic of the negotiation, introducing a new variable of long-term survival that required cooperation and labor rather than just plunder. The negotiation room fell into a stunned silence as Zhang Yi unveiled his second major proposal, agriculture. The 5 coalition leaders stared at him in disbelief, struggling to comprehend the absurdity of farming in a frozen apocalypse. Huang Tianfang voiced their collective skepticism, pointing out that crops would freeze to death in the current temperatures. Zhang Yi remained unfazed, citing Siberian corn cultivation as proof of concept and offering alternative seeds like potatoes and wheat. He argued that since the snowstorm showed no signs of ending and authorities had gone into hiding, long-term survival depended on establishing a sustainable food chain. He suggested digging through the snow to access the soil beneath, proposing underground planting as a viable solution to overcome the extreme cold. Among the leaders, reactions varied sharply. Huang Tianfang, a former farmer, saw a strategic advantage in his agricultural expertise, while Li Jian recognized the potential to leverage his building's large population as a labor force. Wan Chang, however, viewed the idea with suspicion, preferring to delegate the labor to others rather than participate himself. When Li Jian argued that 300 portions of food were insufficient for their needs, Zhang Yi countered by stating he required more than 300 people to work the land. He clarified that his aid was not for idle survivors but for those willing to contribute to the agricultural effort, promising high-quality food, clothing, medical supplies, and even luxury items like alcohol and cigarettes in return for daily progress reports on farmland preparation. The mention of cigarettes shattered the remaining resistance. Wang Chang and Huang Tianfang, both suffering from severe nicotine withdrawal, became visibly agitated and desperate. Zhang Yi exploited this weakness, tossing a cigarette to each of them. The two men lit up with trembling hands, their expressions shifting from anxiety to blissful ecstasy as they inhaled the smoke. Empowered by the relief, Wang Chang immediately agreed to all of Zhang Yi's conditions, demanding a daily supply of cigarettes. Huang Tianfang followed suit, dismissing the concerns of Li Jian and Chen Lingyu. Zhang Yi refused to hand over more cigarettes until the agreement was formalized, using the threat of armed conflict to underscore his dominance. Wang Chang and Huang Tianfang, blinded by addiction, pressured the others to accept the terms, leaving Li Jian and Chen Lingyu isolated and furious at their incompetent allies. The negotiation room on the 13th floor of Building 25 became a theater of psychological dominance as Zhang Yi leveraged addiction and fear to break the coalition. Wang Chang and Huang Tianfang, driven by severe nicotine withdrawal and the promise of daily cigarettes, rushed to accept Zhang Yi's harsh terms. Their eagerness betrayed their lack of strategic depth, forcing Li Jian and Chen Lingyu into a corner. Li Jian attempted to stall, claiming he needed to consult his people, but Zhang Yi's cold demeanor and the presence of Uncle Yu's armed guards shut down any further debate. Huang Tianfang, seeing an opportunity to secure resources for his smaller group, publicly endorsed the agreement, followed immediately by Wang Chang. This left Li Jian isolated, while Chen Lingyu, physically compromised and terrified, could offer no resistance. Zhang Yunian remained passive, feigning contemplation while internally accepting that survival depended on Zhang Yi's mercy. The dynamic shifted from a negotiation to a capitulation, with Zhang Yi firmly establishing his authority over the 5 building leaders. Just as the terms were being finalized, Zhang Yi noticed movement outside. The crowd that had fled after the grenade attack was regrouping, moving stealthily toward Building 25. Zhang Yi realized this was a classic pincer strategy. The leaders upstairs served as hostages to distract him, while their subordinates launched a surprise assault on his defenses. He confronted the 5 men, asking if they had orchestrated the attack. Wang Chang denied it, claiming such a move would be suicide, but Zhang Yi knew better. He understood that either the leaders had been abandoned by their own people or their subordinates were seizing power independently. Li Jian, the only one with sufficient intelligence to grasp the situation, paled as he realized the betrayal. The atmosphere in the room turned icy as Zhang Yi prepared to deal with the threat, using the leader's fear to ensure their compliance while he handled the external danger. Zhang Yi grabbed his sniper rifle and ordered the 5 leaders to sit, blocking their escape routes with Uncle Yu's men. He then moved to the window, aiming at the gathering crowd below. With cold precision, he fired, killing the building manager of Unit 11 instantly. The shot echoed through the residential area, shattering the attacker's coordination. A second shot followed, taking another life. The crowd panicked, scrambling for cover or fleeing in terror. Zhang Yi continued to fire, targeting those who tried to hide or crawl on the snow, demonstrating his ruthless efficiency. The 5 leaders watched in horror, their faces drained of color as they witnessed the sheer lethality of their new overlord. The sniper rifle served not just as a weapon, but as a symbol of absolute power, cementing Zhang Yi's control over both the negotiation and the battlefield.